my friends, is the power of media. So here, to discuss more on it, we begin with the first plenary session of 31st National Conference, Power of Media, Shaping the Future.
But before that, let's welcome on stage the chairperson for this session, Mr. Professor Umesh Joshi, who has an experience of 35 years in electronic media and 21 years in print media at national level. Mr. Joshi has worked as a sub-editor cum reporter and has worked with Doordarshan, All India Radio, Asia News International, Jan Satta, and many more prominent names in the journalism industry.
Now, I would like to welcome on stage the research scholar for this session, Mr. Ramendranath Verma, Assistant Professor, SJMC Noida International University, Professor Dr. Vinita Jha, MDD College, BRABU, Muzaffarpur. In her absence, her husband, Dr. A.K. Chaudhary, Associate Professor, Tecnia Management, will represent the research paper. Ms. Tanvi Gautam, Assistant Professor, Sharda University.
Now, I would like to call upon stage Dr. Sanjay Srivastav, HOD, BAJMC, Tecnia Institute of Advanced Studies, to kindly come up on stage and felicitate the chairperson for this session, Professor Umesh Joshi. So we call upon our first research scholar, Ms. Ashwinder Kaur. She is a PhD research scholar from IGNOU. Kindly welcome her on the stage with a huge round of applause.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm myself an alumnus of Tecnia itself. Yeah, I'm here to present a paper in 3 minutes. I would love to wrap it up, but I think the topic is as such that it will always be discussed thereby. As far as power of media is concerned, I, as a research scholar, cannot touch various mediums altogether. But then I'll be talking about use of Facebook and WhatsApp in learning skills of children of Didis in GB Road. It's an ethnographic study. The study is to analyze how Facebook and WhatsApp help the children of Didis accept and express themselves. As far as Didi is concerned, it's an operational definition being used for the commercial female sex workers working in GB Road. The study is based on ongoing training and facilitation process of children of Didis, wherein the researcher meets Didis as well occasionally. Didis in these cramped holes envisage better future for their children, and in this respect, the children are sent to NGOs, dance schools, and dramatic schools as well. During the course of time, it has been found that the children of Didis have found some space in this virtual world where they don't have to worry about their so-called social reality. There they can talk and live like others without being othered. These children of Didis and the Didis themselves want inclusion in society. But I think that's a far-fetched dream altogether. But then there's some hope which we can see in this virtual world, wherein I'll go back when 2014 I started meeting the kids. I used to teach them English and dramatics and basic stuff. But once I came back to my campus, I was doing masters in Jamia, and attendance was a big issue. So I had to come back. Once I came back, I realized that every day there were voice messages on my phone, wherein I could know and I knew that these children could not write one single sentence clearly. But then using that voice message as, you need to just press a button and say what you want to say. It has overpowered the barrier that was there altogether, the literacy barrier. The voice messages, if I would have been able to show the video, I would have been able to tell you that how they used to write what they wanted to with emotions altogether, because they were not able to write the complete sentences. So the emotions being, coming across through voice messages were more than enough. And not only voice messages, but images as well being shared with us as mentors. So somewhere or the other, I was able to understand that though physically the mentors or we, the facilitators, were not there, but then virtually we were connected. So this helped them in one way or the other to express themselves. As rightly pointed out in the beginning, that social learning theory is applicable when you talk about media. Yes, it is. Of course, yes. Albert Bandura did a very innovative experiment altogether with the Bobo dolls, that the children who fidget with Bobo dolls are not that aggressive as compared to the children who spend more time watching video games and aggressive video games altogether. So I could see that the impact of this virtual world in their lives in a way that I'm not going to say it has given the freedom of speech and expression altogether, because it's a sophisticated way of putting it all across, but I'll say at least the space is there to express. At least the space is there to accept their social reality and express it in the way they would like to. Further, the social media platform, wherein primarily talking about Facebook and WhatsApp, been analyzed, it has tried to bridge the world between their world and the world on the other side of so-called red light area. As discussed by various thinkers, accepting social reality, talking about color, caste, creed, etc., 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 in various debates is there. But when I talk about these children, they feel relaxed because on virtual media or on virtual platform, they're not asked that what is their name primarily, who is their fathers, and what is the particular caste, or what exactly is their schooling from, or etc., etc. But then at least they know that there's a world outside on this virtual platform to accept them the way they are showing it to the world. As far as conclusion is concerned, yes, I would like to say that this platform has given space to these children in order to share their thoughts, at least irrespective of the social reality. And to a certain extent, it is conducive and democratic than the so-called realities which lie within us and around us. So with this, I would end with Kafi Azmi's words. कद्र अब तक तेरी तारीख ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझ में शोले भी हैं बस अश्क फिशानी ही नहीं, तू हकीकत भी है दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है एक चीज़ जवानी ही नहीं, अपनी तारीख का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Those were few lovely thoughts and messages by you.
Now, I would kindly request Mr. Ramendra Nath Verma, Assistant Professor, SGMC Noida International University, to kindly present your paper.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me an opportunity in Tecnia for presenting a research paper. In fact, this is my second research paper, which I'll be going to present. Media is considered as a backbone of the society. The traditional news disseminating media like newspaper, radio, and television are using innovative news disseminating techniques and had widened its base by including the medium of broadcasting, telecasting, and new media. The study in this paper will discuss on the ethical standards of news journalism in traditional mass media of India in face-to-face the new market forces. The study will also analyze the ethical principle of news media that has been manipulated for more worldly purposes. And in addition, this paper also tries to observe the impact and analysis of the respondents who go through this media in a civil society, and also on the status of paid news. Media ethics is one of the few branches of applied ethics in a democratic society. This professional ethics is concerned with a whole range of social issues such as honesty and integrity in media coverage, objectivity, freedom of speech and expression, media laws, political influence, warfare, terrorism, public interest, censorship, etc. Corruption in mass media are in form of planting information and spinning views in lieu of favor received in cash and kind. Nowadays, media is spreading fake stories, false propaganda, and have completely lost their credibility. As far as my findings are concerned, according to Eldman survey report, Indian media is the second most untrusted institution in the world. This Eldman Trust has been in business for over 20 years and had its business in over 38 countries. In the survey, it was found that most media houses have vested interest and they exploit the situation for gaining TRPs. According to a report by World Economic Forum, the Indian media ranks in the list of all the countries in the second, where the publications are least trusted by the citizens. For example, the intolerance issue, which was scripted by media, showed how people from the elite Lutean club of Delhi could not accept the fact that Modi won the election and they wanted to tag India and his government as a communal. Fake news can be taken in many forms. It can be biased completely out of context, discrediting, slanderous, and even a plain distortion of facts. If we talk about the media ethics in Indian perspectives, the holy tenets of journalism like attribution and reliability of sources, objective neutrality are completely missing from the Indian news space. According to Mahatma Gandhi, the sole aim of journalism should be service, but nowadays sensationalization and trivialization has taken over the ethics. Public trust in Indian journalism is at the lowest. According to Markand Karju, the proposed media council should have 48 members against the 28 members. But as the media PCI is considered as a toothless tiger, he wants that it should be given the power of punishing the media houses, including the cancellation of licenses, if it violates the media code of ethics. For example, we all know about the famous Arushri Dabar murder case, in which the CBI had to take the help of Supreme Court, which had passed a restraining order barring the media from any scandalous or sensational reporting on the case. The second example is about the famous 26/11 terrorist attack which happened in Mumbai. Here also, though the issue was in the interest of public, but the coverage came under the severe criticism for turning blind eye to the safety of the hostages and security of the rescuers, and above all the national interest. The Operation Black Commando was delayed as terrorists were able to see all the preparations which were taking place and how they are planning to enter. At last, they were cut off the air, and after that, it was successful. Similarly, another instance of violation of media ethics was the 2012 gang rape case which happened in Delhi. The media broke the ethics by releasing the name of the victims, like Jyoti Singh and Avindra Pratap Pandey, who was the friend. She was tortured and raped, and ultimately she succumbed in a Singapore hospital. Similarly, there are many instances of the paid news also, a form of secret advertisements which occurred in the Maharashtra Assembly elections, etc. Yeah. And at last, I would like to tell about the conclusion. Media personnel have to act independently, not only for the sake of maintenance of ethical standard, but for jealously guarding their freedom and constitutional rights. Journalists everywhere have to play a vital role in providing the public with a knowledge and understanding. They therefore must remain sensitive to the issues such as fairness, accountability, and accuracy. Thank you very much for your valuable time.
Thank you so much, sir. Ethics is indeed one of the most important aspects of media.
Now, I would like to call Dr. A.K. Chaudhary, Associate Professor in Tecnia Management, to represent the research paper on behalf of Dr. Professor Vinita Jha.
I just correlate the power of media shaping the future. So this is my message to the students of Bachelor of Journalism, Mass Communication. So many speakers has told that this is the fourth democratic power. And accordingly, you have to consider that you are one of the most important and precious pillar for the future of the nation. So how to just take the step to shape yourself? The topic of this article is just balancing the conventional, traditional, digital, electronic, or modern media or social media, how to balance it. Because you students will not get the opportunity of your job in only in media or TV channel and anchoring and those. You may also get opportunity in this industry for marketing their businesses. Also, you will get your job in the event management, where you have to manage the several events. So I just want to speak or just to read only the abstract and the conclusion. The human being have been gifted by God for exchanging ideas, opinions, thoughts, feelings, and suggestions, or other information and messages for their growth and development. It means communication is a central component of human life and civilization, as well as overall development of society, nation, and world at large. We all know that this is 21st century of globalization, where everyone, either entrepreneur or the business house or the students, farmers, agriculture, everyone is striving hard to get a good place in this global market. And for that, communication is very important. And nowadays, with help of the mass communication, to make aware all the people has become a very important part. So we all know that how do I keep up in today's development of the new technology and to just keep all those things in our development, that is very important. We know that with many things trending one day and just dead in the next. So conventional and traditional or the modern media, you know all about these all things. Only I just concluded that all in all, the key of the successful media campaign is to have the well-balanced mix of the conventional and the modern media, and that ultimately target audience. You have to just see what are the audience. It is important not to waste dollars on media that will not effective. Take the time and analyze truth, yin and yang, and the mutual benefits with considering business goals and communication goals, who and where is our target market, how connecting and interacting them, where care must be taken to retain the culture, tradition, feelings and emotion, attitude and behavior, and to maintain the supreme value, truth, beauty, and goodwill, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, and keeping these all in your personality and just take the future shape as a power of media. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, we have Mr. Ayushman Singhal, Alumni, Tecnia Institute of Advanced Studies and Research Scholar, Makhanlal Chaturvedi University, Noida campus. Kindly give him a huge round of applause as he starts with his presentation.
First of all, power of media, the topic of our national conference. Power of media, I would like to say in one line that है नहीं तलवार अपने हाथ में तो क्या हुआ, हम कलम से ही करेंगे सरफिरों के सर कलम. Because we are media students and we are media professionals. The power of media.
Impact of social media.
Our topic is impact of social media. So what is basically the social media? Social media is the interaction among people which they share and exchange information and idea in virtual community and network. In today's world, we are living in virtual community.
The media creates the experience of global shared time, especially by informing people around the world about the events that they can share, no matter of the distance or time. Communication provides people a chance to contact others. As we are living in a global world, you can see that we are in contact of each and everyone, whether with our friends, relatives, or anyone. And it is just by the medium of communication, that is most probably we can say by social media.
We are using social media to entertain, to aware, to educate. Social media is a very good platform to get knowledge. If we talk about social media has impacts positive and negative.
Most people associate social media with the positive outcomes, yet this is not always the case. Social media may expose children to images of alcohol, tobacco, and sexual behaviors. Excess use of social websites can also lead to low grades, time wastage, effect on health, reduces learning and research capabilities.
If we talk about social media is the changing way that we communicate and the way perceived for positively and negatively. Every time you post a photo or update your status, you contributing your own digital footprint and personal brand. Yes, this is the main important. You are on promoting your personal brand on social media. If you are posting a photo, if you are posting check-ins or anywhere, you are promoting yourself through social media. Examples, if we talk about recently the song of Malayalam film which is directed by Umar Lulu has adding the sensational numbers on YouTube, hence registered over 15 million views. You have already seen the Priya Prakash Warrior on that wing. She got 3 million views in just 3 days. She promoted herself on YouTube, on social media, and that's made the platform that you can promote your views, your poems, your photographs, anything on social media. That's a great platform to showcase yourself. If we talk about the Kamlesh solution video, have you remembered it? Kamlesh solution video, the drugs addict. Now his life is already changed. He is the right track of his life because of social media.
Social media is reducing social barriers. It connects people on the strength of human values, non-identifies.
Yeah. Social media is not a media. It is the key to listen, engage and build the relationship. In last, कि निष्पक्ष कलम की ताकत हो, जनता के सरोकार हो तुम, कल्प भाग्य हाथों में तुम्हारे, हर मरहम का आकार हो तुम, आवाज दो शब्दों को ऐसे उठकर जो सिंगनाद करे, सरकारों की शामत आए और जनतंत्रों पर घात करे, तलवारों में क्या दम है, तो यूं ऐसे लाचार हो तुम, मीडिया हो तुम, मीडिया हो तुम, मीडिया हो तुम. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Lastly, we have the last research scholar for this session, Ms. Tanvi Gautam, who is an assistant professor from Sharda University. Kindly welcome her.
Good afternoon, everyone on delegates, faculty, research scholar, and students. Before going on cryptography, we must know that what are the various applications of cryptography in real-life applications. Such as right nowadays, we are using a smart device that is known as commonly phone. Let's say a phone gets connected with the base station, and at that time of communication, our data must be encrypted and decrypted. Commonly, research is conducted in two categories, that is your qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative study is your survey and quantitative is your comparative and descriptive. My topic of discussion is qualitative, that is comparison of various cryptography algorithms and its description along with narrated description and its applications and its advantages and disadvantages. Before going on cryptography, we must know that what a cryptography is. To keep our information secret, two possible strategies that we use for hiding our encrypted data, that is your symmetric and asymmetric cryptography. Cryptography is basically a art and science of keeping information secure from unintended services from for audited audience of encrypting it. Cryptanalysis, it is science, art and science of breaking encoded data. Cryptography and cryptanalysis combinedly give a science of study for cryptography, that is your cryptology. Cryptography generally uses your mathematical equation and secret keys to encrypt a decrypted data. Basically, we have two types of cryptography, that is your key-based encryption, symmetric cryptography, and your asymmetric cryptography. Key-based encryption, symmetric cryptography is your secret key encryption, and asymmetric cryptography is your public key encryption. Most popular cryptography algorithm that are used nowadays are your RSA, DES, IDEA, IPES, and PES. RSA is your Ravest, Shamir, and Edelman algorithm that are proposed in 1977. DES is your data encryption standard that is written by IBM and that encoded 64-bit block of data using 56-bit key. IDEA is International Data Encryption, formerly known as Proposed Encryption Standard, and nowadays it is known as Improved proposed encryption standard. Lastly, we can say that for keeping our data must be secure and encrypted, we must use the cryptography, whether it is social media, whether it is media or any application. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Professor Umesh Joshi to kindly come up on the dais and give his final comments on this session. Kindly give him a huge round of applause. He is one of the veteran journalists. He has an experience of over 35 years in the electronic media and 21 years in the print media.
Our speakers, three speakers, presented their paper on social media, and social media is gathering very much popularity. But one thing that is most important in media, any media, which is authenticity, reliability. This social media is lacking this reliability and authenticity. Without authenticity, without reliability, there is no media. Because there is no control over social media, there is no editing, there is no who will take action. If you write fake news, who will control? In newspaper, your editor is sitting at the top, who is controlling your news. In TV, your editor, a full chain is there to control your news. But in social media, no one is there to control. No one is to edit your facts. No one is there to verify your facts. So without reliability and authenticity, media is not known as media. The foremost condition for the media is reliability. And why I read newspaper? Because I rely on the news. Why I watch TV? Because I rely the news which TV telecasts. But I never rely any news which I get from either Instagram or WhatsApp or Facebook. Anything I get, I simply take it as entertainment, but not news. On the other hand, newspaper, TV, even this web news, I never rely. I'll give simply 2 or 3 examples. Recently, I saw one news. I watched one news. The caption of the news was, रवीश कुमार की पत्नी के बारे में कुछ फैक्ट्स हमने जाने, आप भी अगर पढ़ेंगे तो चौंक जाएंगे। पूरी न्यूज़ में देख गया, लेकिन कोई ऐसा फैक्ट मुझे नहीं लगा जिसमें मैं चौंक जाऊं। एक टीवी चैनल पर खबर चल रही थी, एक विधायक ने 300 की हत्या की, 300 को मौत के घाट उतारा। मैं वहां रुक गया, मैंने सोचा कि 10 मिनट बाद ये खबर आएगी, प्रोग्राम आएगी, आई विल डेफिनेटली वॉच दिस प्रोग्राम। कि ऐसा कौन सा विधायक है, कौन सा एमएलए है जिसने 300 को मौत के घाट उतार दिया और अभी तक पकड़ा नहीं गया। खबर क्या थी कि उसने 300 बकरों की बलि दी थी। दिस इज नॉट मी, दिस इज सेंसेशनलिज्म। महेंद्र नाथ वर्मा ने बहुत सारे मामले उठाए हैं, मीडिया एथिक्स की बात की है उन्होंने, और मीडिया एथिक्स बहुत जरूरी है। अगर रेप विक्टिम का आप नाम, तो वो अनएथिकल तो है ही है, इलीगल भी है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आदेश है कि आप किसी रेप विक्टिम का नाम नहीं बताएंगे, लेकिन अगर कोई नाम बताता है तो वो अनएथिकल और इलीगल दोनों है। क्यों रामेंद्र जी? मैं फिर इन्होंने एक बहुत अच्छी बात कही कि मोस्ट ऑफ द, मैं कहूं ऑल, मोस्ट ऑफ द नहीं, ऑल मीडिया हाउसेज हैव देयर ओन इंटरेस्ट, वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट। आप जो जर्नलिज्म पढ़ के जाते हैं, you will never find any opportunity to follow the journalistic ethics, whatever you want, whatever you have read. जो जर्नलिस्टिक एथिक्स हैं वो आप काफ़ी हद तक फॉलो कर सकते हैं अगर आप चाहें तो। आप ही नहीं चाहते हैं। एक रिपोर्टर अगर लिखता है कि उन्होंने ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड बताया, ये कहाँ का एथिक्स है कि अगर उसने कहा कि मैं ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड आपको बता रहा हूं और आप उसको रिकॉर्ड पर लेकर आ रहे हैं, ये कहाँ का एथिक्स है? तो एथिकल बातें सोशल मीडिया में नहीं होती, एथिक्स नहीं होते हैं। टीवी और प्रिंट मीडिया में जरूर एथिक्स होते हैं। तो जहां एथिक्स नहीं, वो जर्नलिज्म नहीं है। इसके अलावा पिलर कहते हैं कि साहब डेमोक्रेसी में जर्नलिस्ट चौथा पाया होता है, चौथा पिलर होता है। ठीक, हमने मान लिया और नो डिस्प्यूट। लेकिन मेरा सबसे बड़ा सवाल यह होता है कि वो जो पिलर है वो किस मटेरियल का बना है, ये तो देखो। उसमें कितना कंक्रीट लगा है, कितना पत्थर लगा है, कितने ईंट लगी है, कितना गारा लगा है। अगर वो पिलर ही कमजोर है तो वो ज्यादा दिन चलने वाला नहीं है। इसलिए ये जो पिलर है, चौथा पाया है लोकतंत्र का, इससे मजबूत कैसे बनाया जाएगा, इस पर भी एक चर्चा होनी चाहिए। और मुझे लगता है ये उसी कड़ी में ये सेमिनार है। और मैं टेक्निया इंस्टीट्यूट का बड़ा आभारी हूं कि उन्होंने इस तरह का एक सेमिनार रखा है। इस तरह के सेमिनार आप लोगों को अटेंड करना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप लोगों को अगर जर्नलिस्ट बनना पर्याप्त नहीं है, इट्स नॉट एनफ। अच्छा जर्नलिस्ट बनना है तो फिर आपको ये सारी बातें सुननी पड़ेंगी, सीखनी पड़ेंगी, फॉलो करनी पड़ेंगी। बस इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं आप लोगों को शुभकामनाएं देता हूं।
Thank you so much, sir. Rightly said by him that journalism is defined by ethics. A true journalist is always an ethical person. Winding up with this session, we will begin with the second plenary session of 31st National Conference, Power of Media Shaping Future.
Now I would like to hand over the mic to Nilakshi and Anmol.
खुद से जीतने की जिद है, मुझे खुद को ही तो हराना है। मैं भीड़ नहीं हूँ दुनिया की, मेरे अंदर एक ज़माना है। जी हाँ दोस्तों, हमारे अंदर ही तो होता है वो विश्वास जिसे हम दूसरों में तलाशते हैं, जबकि इस विश्वास को खुद में अपने अंदर ही तराशना होता है। नमस्कार देवियों और सज्जनों, मैं नीलाक्षी चावला,
मैं अनमोल पराशर,
स्वागत करते हैं आपका हमारे आज के राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन में।
The main element of this event is also social media. Social media is changing the way we communicate and the way we are perceived, both positively and negatively. Every time you post a photo or update your status, you are contributing to your own digital footprint and personal brand.
तो शुरू करने से पहले हम बुलाना चाहेंगे हमारे आज के मुख्य अतिथि श्री सुशील कुमार जी को। अपनी तालियों से स्वागत कीजिए उनका।
Mr. Sushil Kumar is a senior journalist having 18 years of experience. He has worked with news agencies like UNI and the Indo-Asian News Service for almost 14 years. During his journalistic careers, he has worked in different capacities, from news desk to news head. He has covered various central ministries such as Ministry of Home Affairs, PMO and Rashtrapati Bhavan.
अब मैं बुलाना चाहूँगी हमारे आज के सेकंड प्लेनरी सेशंस के रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स को।
Mr. Adarsh Kumar, Assistant Professor, Noida International University. Mr. Anil Jharotia, Tecnia Institute. Aditya Thakkar and Akash Bhardwaj, Bhai Parshuram College. Shikha and Pooja Kalra, Tecnia Institute. Chaitanya Khamboj and Vedant Kumar, Tecnia Institute.
अब मैं आवेदन करना चाहूँगी मिस्टर आदर्श कुमार, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर नोएडा इंटरनेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी से, कि वो आकर अपने व्यूज़ हमारे साथ शेयर करें।
आप सभी का धन्यवाद। मंच पर मौजूद जितने भी स्कॉलर हैं और स्टूडेंट्स हैं, टेक्निया इंस्टीट्यूट का भी बहुत बहुत आभार। मैं हिंदी में अपना पेपर प्रेजेंट करूंगा। अभी मैंने नोएडा इंटरनेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी ज्वाइन किया है। इससे पहले मैं स्टार न्यूज़ में, एबीपी न्यूज़ में 12 सालों तक एसोसिएट प्रोड्यूसर के तौर पर मैंने काम किया है। तो टेलीविज़न इंडस्ट्री में मेरा 12 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है। उससे पहले मैं कुछ दिनों तक आज तक में भी रहा, ऑल इंडिया रेडियो में भी रहा और जनसत्ता अखबार में भी रहा। तो जो मैं पेपर प्रेजेंट करने जा रहा हूँ वो है न्यूज़ एंकर्स की लोकप्रियता में गिरावट, दर्शकों को एंकर का चीखना चिल्लाना पसंद नहीं है। और भी दुनिया में सुखनबर बहुत अच्छे, कहते हैं कि गालिब का है अंदाजे बयां। और किसी भी खबर को मीडिया के जरिए पहुंचाने में अहम भूमिका होती है प्रस्तोता की, यानी कि एंकर की। और ख़ास करके टीवी न्यूज़ के संदर्भ में हम देखें तो लोग अपने चहेते एंकर को देखने के लिए इंतज़ार भी करते हैं, और अगर उनके पसंदीदा एंकर का अगर कोई शो आ रहा हो तो वो टीवी पे रुक जाते हैं। लेकिन कई बार ऐसा होता है कि खबर काम की है, लेकिन उन्हें एंकर अगर पसंद नहीं है, उन्हें एंकर अगर अच्छा नहीं लगता है, उनका प्रेजेंटेशन अच्छा नहीं लगता है, तो वो रिमोट के जरिए अपने चैनल बदल लेते हैं। और मैं अक्सर जब टीवी इंडस्ट्री में काम करता था और ट्रैवल करता था तो लोग ये कहते थे कि जो पुराने एंकर हैं वो काफ़ी प्रभावशाली थे, और अब जो एंकर आ रहे हैं उनमें उतनी गहराई नहीं है, वो उतने प्रभावशाली नहीं रहे। तो मैंने सोचा क्यों ना इस पर एक रिसर्च किया जाए कि जो हमारे एंकर हैं वो कितने लोकप्रिय हैं। सबसे पहले मैंने इसके लिए अंग्रेजी न्यूज़ चैनलों के एंकर को चुना। आप जैसा कि जानते हैं कि जब हम अंग्रेजी न्यूज़ चैनल की चर्चा करते हैं तो इनमें सबसे ज़्यादा जो लोकप्रिय हैं वो है अर्नब गोस्वामी। अर्नब गोस्वामी रिपब्लिक के एडिटर इन चीफ हैं, और उनका अंदाज आप लोगों को मालूम ही होगा कि वो अपनी बात को ज़ोर ज़ोर से बोलते हैं। जब अर्नब गोस्वामी का राइज हुआ उससे पहले राजदीप सरदेसाई काफ़ी लोकप्रिय थे। राजदीप सरदेसाई फिलहाल इंडिया टुडे ग्रुप के कंसल्टिंग एडिटर हैं, और अर्नब से पहले अगर सबसे ज़्यादा कोई एंकर लोकप्रिय था तो वो राजदीप सरदेसाई थे। और दूसरी तरफ महिला न्यूज़ एंकर की बात करें तो बरखा दत्त। आप लोगों को मालूम होगा कि बरखा दत्त के किरदार पर कई मूवी भी बनाई जा चुकी है। जैसे लक्ष्य मूवी में माना जाता है कि जो प्रीति जिंटा का किरदार था वो कहीं ना कहीं बरखा दत्त से प्रेरित था। या फिर साल 2011 में एक मूवी आई थी नो वन किल्ड जेसिका, उसमें भी जो रानी मुखर्जी का किरदार है और उसको करगिल युद्ध से जोड़ करके देखा गया तो ये बताया गया कि उनके किरदार को भी कहीं ना कहीं बरखा दत्त से जोड़ करके देखा गया था। इसके बाद साल 2014 में सिंघम रिटर्न्स में भी जो है अश्विनी कालेस्कर के किरदार को भी बरखा दत्त को ध्यान में रखकर लिखा गया। तो एक न्यूज़ एंकर लोकप्रियता जो है इस हद तक जाती है कि उस पर किरदार गढ़े जाते हैं, फिल्म के जरिए उनका प्रस्तुतिकरण भी होता है। अब हम हिंदी न्यूज़ चैनलों के एंकर्स पे आते हैं। प्रसून वाजपेयी, रवीश कुमार, सईद अंसारी, अशोक श्रीवास्तव और अभिसार शर्मा, दीपक चौरसिया, रजत शर्मा, इन सब की लोकप्रियता अपनी अपनी जगह पे है, सुधीर चौधरी भी। लेकिन जो मैंने सर्वे किया कि आपके पसंदीदा एंकर कौन है, उनमें सबसे ज़्यादा रवीश कुमार का नाम सामने आया। उसके बाद जो है अशोक श्रीवास्तव, सईद अंसारी आए। लेकिन एक चीज़ जो देखने में सबसे ज़्यादा बात आई कि कहीं ना कहीं जो पिछले 10 सालों में एंकर्स के प्रति जो लोगों का क्रेज था वो कहीं ना कहीं लगातार घटा है। लोग अब आंख मूंद करके जो है अपने एंकर्स पर भरोसा नहीं करते जैसा कि पहले किया करते थे। अब उन्हें हर एंकर जो है वो लगता है कि वो किसी न किसी पार्टी से जुड़े हुए हैं और किसी न किसी पार्टी के समर्थन में अपनी बात को किसी न किसी तरीके से प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं। दूसरी बात जो समझ में आई कि लोगों को ये पसंद नहीं है कि एंकर चीख चिल्ला करके अपनी बात कहें, लोगों को यही पसंद है कि वो खबरें सही तरीके से प्रेजेंट करे, सही तरीके से प्रस्तुत करे। एक चीज़ और जो लोगों को शिकायत है कि सभी चैनल के एंकर जो है तकरीबन एक ही एंकरिंग स्टाइल अपनाते हैं, उनका यूनिकनेस जो है वो धीरे धीरे खत्म हो रहा है। तो ये हमने एक सर्वे विधि के जरिए रिसर्च किया था, जो वास्तव में सोचने वाली बात है कि एंकरिंग का मतलब केवल चीख चिल्ला करके जोर से अपनी बात कहना नहीं है। थैंक यू सो मच।
अब मैं आवेदन करना चाहूंगी शिखा और पूजा कालरा से कि वो आकर अपने व्यूज प्रेजेंट करें।
Message across to a wider audience. The various form of media, primarily television, newspaper and radio, spread and disseminate information. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Pooja Kalra,
and I, Shah Gosai,
presenting our research paper on threat under journalism.
So in this 21st century and from the past, we are dwelling on the positive and negative impacts of media on the society. Today, we are discussing over freedom of press, power of media, but no one is talking about the threats that media, journalists, has to face on daily basis. So the main objective of our presentation is to find answers of some questions. Is really journalism under threat? And why journalism is under threat? And how to tackle with this threat?
Two beliefs safely inhabit the canon of contemporary thinking about journalism. The first is that the internet is most powerful force disrupting the new media. The second is that the internet and the communication and the information tool it spawned, like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, are shifting power from government to civil society and to individual bloggers or citizen journalism.
So here we are talking about the threats that journalists has to face on the daily basis. So first is censorship and journalism. It is the most invisible threat that journalists has to face. We can see the physical threats, but what about the internal threats? Censorship means the suppression of speech, public communication, or other information on the basis that such material is considered objectionable, harmful, sensitive, politically incorrect, or inconvenient, as determined by government authorities. Media censorship affects the news we see. Journalists are suppressed by internally.
Political threat in journalism. Indian journalism under increasing political control. Compared to many Asian countries, there is a great deal of freedom to report in India. But there is an issue of political control of the Indian media which begs the question of how truly free are journalists. According to a 2012 report by Business Standard, more than a third of new channels in India are owned by politicians.
So the other threats are economic pressure and intimidation and job insecurity. Intimidation and job insecurity are two threats under journalism which are most neglected.
You may have known about journalist Naga Arjun Reddy. He assaulted by brother of local MLA Arunanchi Krishna Mohan and his supporters February 11, Chiram. In the case, May 3rd, 2017, a Press World Freedom, a Hoot study finds that 54 attacks and 25 cases of threatening journalism took place in past 16 months.
Here we are talking about the threats, so how can we forget Gauri Lankesh, a fearless Indian journalist silenced. The Indian journalist turned activist from Bangalore, Karnataka, Gauri Lankesh, was shot to death on 5th September, only because of her expressions.
Media voice. You can't kill, but can stop us. On October 2, celebrated as birth anniversary of a journalist, Mohan Das Gandhi, media person across India, will be on protest against the rising attacks on them. Under the slogan, you can kill, but you can't stop us.
So the conclusion is that how can these threats can be controlled? So threats should be controlled through implementation of strict rules and regulations, and the press of freedom should be taken seriously, and this can be possible only if the political control over media comes to an end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Chaitanya Khamboj and Vedant Kumar from Tecnia Institute.
So let me be clear with you guys. We are two of the most talentless people in this college. But in spite of that, we are still standing here and presenting this paper.
The paper is on media ethics, fake news or paid news.
Media ethics, rules, guidelines, or set of principles which are there for the smooth working of media, whether it be broadcasting media, films, print media, or the internet.
If we look to define media ethics in a certain way, it is nearly impossible.
In this cyber age, we are able to access information even from a third world country. But chances are that that information may be a pure hoax and quotation may be infringement of imagination.
But Chaitanya, wait, do you think journalists and educated people know the concept of media ethics?
The answer is right in front of you, Vedant.
That was a nice answer, I must say. Well, this abuse of media ethics leads to the concept of paid news and fake news. Earlier, when politicians, businessmen, and other wealthy people were accused for any fake news or paid news, it used to work as an add-on to their fame. Because media proved it wrong. And now media is in business, it is filling their pockets with money and people's head and newspapers with the news they are being paid for.
It is devastating how the fourth pillar of democracy is being played around because of the political pressure, higher authorities pressure, and needs for money.
Let us show you how it works. Bro, news छापो मेरी bro. सब कुछ positive आना चाहिए.
Sorry sir, it's against my media ethics. Media ethics. मैं सब positive नहीं छाप सकता आपके बारे में.
Media ethics? Bro, चाचा विधायक है हमारे.
Oh sir, आइए sir, positive news छापें आपके बारे में. And I quote, every single newspaper was on sale, and in my constituency, I was told I had to pay up for publicity. Also, as per Outlook magazine, a top management executive from Punjab Kesari admitted that the newspaper made between 10 to 12 crores during assembly elections. He said,
Here I quote, we had to go in for selling the editorial space because of tremendous pressure from politicians. We were also being pushed by our so-called national dailies who had their packages and were mopping up revenue. We could not have missed out this opportunity.
further adding to paid news, bot accounts play a big role. Bot accounts. These are the social media accounts which are either hacked or made anonymously to run a propaganda.
Ash Bhatt, a famous software engineer, in his TED Talk revealed the concept of bot accounts and how these are used to run a propaganda.
He also showcased graphs showing accounts classified as humans and accounts classified as propaganda bots. And the difference was huge.
The problem of bot accounts was put forward by our country's favorite anti-nationalist. According to BuzzFeed's 2016 study, top 20 fake news on Facebook received 8.7 million reactions, whereas true stories by verified sources received 1.7 million less reactions.
In the end, it is very easy to say that it is government's fault, but not this time. It is the media's fault and a little bit fault of the people who are accepting everything but what is put in front of them without even caring about the source.
As quoted by Mr. Vijay Goyal, MP BJP, media should set up an accountability committee to regulate the misleading paid news.
Thank you so much.
And end the second session with his final comments.
As far as journalism, news, fake news, and other related things are concerned, I have been here, since the beginning of the function, and I have been hearing everybody closely. And I, myself being a journalist, there have been many journalists earlier. They all talked about, various issues related to the field of journalism. A picture, I personally feel, as far as this fake news issue is concerned, the picture, which we just saw, to me, as far as this particular discussion or the function is concerned, I would say, the kind of picture I have got today, as if, the entire media industry is just, busy presenting, creating, or presenting, fake news. It's not that, actually. To be a journalist, it's not a career, actually. Journalism is not a career. It's a passion, actually. It's different from other career streams, actually. the moment you decide to be a journalist, it's, you got to be different from others because, in the sense like, you would know that you being a journalist would work almost round the clock. Once you decide that you would be a journalist for the rest of your life, you should be prepared that you would have to work actually, not just, somebody just has said that, one would have to work or has to work around the clock, but it's actually the case, or could be the case actually. Yeah, of course, you get time to sleep, you get time for other activities in life, but again, the most of time of a journalist would go in searching or looking for a news. And as far as fake news is concerned, not every journalist, believe you me, not every journalist is busy creating or presenting fake news. I can assure you there are still journalists who would give their life or their lives, for finding out or presenting or preparing good news stories, the stories which would actually be beneficial for the entire country, and it would actually empower the public, the viewers, the listeners, or the readers. And you guys, especially the scholars, those who have presented their papers, and the students of journalism and the journalists, of course journalists would know, but especially the students and the scholars who are preparing themselves to enter into the field of journalism, I would tell them that it's just, it's a decision, that you take. Credibility is something which is most important, for a journalist. A journalist has to have a sense of urgency also, and when you see or get to know that there is a news stuff, you must, without losing time, you must report it. And as Sir talked about, there were other speakers also in the beginning who talked about, that, they cannot actually believe in, especially in stuff coming from the social media, be it Facebook, Instagram, or some other platforms, I would say that, one has to have, since you have decided to be journalists in the times to come, you have to have the sense of urgency and maintain. It's not about, just filing a story as soon as you get it. Of course, in this era, every passing minute is a deadline for you. Because even if you are working for a newspaper, earlier if I would work for a newspaper, I would have to file my news story in the evening only. Even if I've got it at 10 o'clock in the morning, the story would be filed, let's say, by 7 or 7:30, 8:30, because the first edition would go to print at 9 or 9:30. But now with websites around, even if you're working with a newspaper, you would have to let's say you would have to file your story as soon as possible. Because if it's an important story, the paper, the organization you work with, it would actually take it for the website concerned there. So, a sense of urgency is very important. And at the same time, when you're filing your story with a certain speed there, you should check and cross-check your facts and figures. If you have, Sir talked about, there was this senior journalist before me, he talked about that, how Hindu lost its credibility. Credibility which, took the paper, it took the paper a long, long time to earn that kind of credibility. Once you lose your credibility as a journalist, you're gone in the market. Nobody would actually believe you. You have to have that, you have to build up that credibility for yourself. You have to have that sense for news, and not only that, the sense of urgency in this time, because as I've just told you, every passing minute is a deadline for you. The moment you have your story, please file it, and if you are in doubt, I don't know. I'm just, basically concerned about the students and the scholars there, especially the students of journalism and mass communication. When you are in doubt, please don't just hesitate. Ask people around. If you don't even know a meaning of a word, please check the dictionary. Please check people around. Don't be in a hurry. Okay, we are in a business of hurry, done. But again, you must not print anything, or you must not let go anything on which you may have, some sort of doubt. Please check it out if you have doubt on something. That's also one of the important points I would say. And what else? A lot has been said about this TV and print as well. I too would agree with the fact that print still has its credibility in the market. People would still say that we saw it in the newspaper. अखबार में छपा था, हमने अखबार में देखा था. I have myself seen many a times television channels showing a breaking news, and it would be, there would be a scroll on the screen this moment, and the next moment when they realize, they would just take it off. They don't have to, it's not, in print. It's not recorded. They can withdraw it anytime they want. And we have, or you yourself may have witnessed it many a times. They have, but as far as print is concerned, once a story is printed, it's recorded, it's there. You just cannot do anything about it. But by mistake, if you have, of course, I have heard editors saying that even, or I myself also believe in this, that the greatest minds in the profession of journalism tend to make mistakes, because we're in a business of hurry. We have to report things as and when they come to us. But a journalist has to be careful in reporting his or her stuff, and must check, or should do the possible checking before releasing the story. And as far as then there was one more important point: political affiliation of the newspapers or the TV channels. All right, they have their business interests, but again, you being a journalist, if you are a true journalist and you know your limits, you know what is to be done and what is not to be done, you can still maintain, or produce good stories. You can still maintain yourself as a good, true journalist. There's no harm in it. Okay, as and when you feel the heat that the editor concerned, or the guy who owns the paper or owns the organization you work with is pressurizing you to do something that you don't want to do it, you can actually switch over to something, some other newspaper, some other news organization. You don't have to worry about it. There are other organizations, but then you have organizations like PTI, UNI, and maybe the trusts like Tribune there, and there are others too. But as and when you feel as a journalist that there is a pressure, undue pressure on you, you can always think of switching over your job from one to the other. But you just don't have to succumb to the pressure that may come to your way anytime. So with these words, I would like to congratulate you all, especially the scholars, those who have presented their papers here, and the students. It's a very good decision. You've taken up a decision for yourself. You've told yourself that you would be a journalist. Please be a journalist. We need good journalists in the field of journalism here in India. But, always remember that it's something which is to be done with a sense of responsibility. And, of course, one more thing which hasn't been mentioned as yet here, that, always remember that a journalist, would always, or has been, I would say, would always earn lesser than others. So you may have a friend working, let's say, as a school teacher or some other field. He would, if he is earning in lakhs, you would, if he is getting, let's say, in case if he's getting a lakh or two, then you would just get a 50% of it. So being a journalist is also a case, and you must, before taking a plunge, you must, tell yourself that this is the situation and this is how you have to go ahead with it. Thank you very much and all the best, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.